Welcome to the west of Ireland. Behind me are the cliffs of Moher. Out here is the Atlantic, but hidden away is the Aran Islands. 3 magical islands which are bastions for Irish culture. It is our connection to our past and to our Irish heritage. We're going to be telling you the story of the Plassey, the shipwreck that has been famous all over the world thanks to shows like Father Ted. We're going to tell you that story before the ship is washed beneath the waves and gone from our memories. And before we head out on the boat, I want to introduce you to one of the men who has been instrumental in facilitating people visiting and experiencing these islands. None other than Bill O'Brien. Let's go.
Bit of the detail about the ship when it went aground in 1960. It was carrying general cargo. It was coming from Limerick, and it had a mixed cargo. It had hardware, timber, acid, and cases of whiskey. And when the ship went ashore, in the evening time, the islanders would go, and the thing they were going for was the whiskey. But what they didn't realise is that the jars of acid had broken and mingled with the water. And when they put their hands down to get the whiskey, their hands got burned. And the priest on a Sunday would give a ceremony that it wasn't their stuff to be taken and that they shouldn't be taking stuff off the ship. And of course, everybody in the church then folded their arms or put their hands in their pockets, and there was kind of silence in the church. And then a lot of them buried the whiskey in the evening time in the sand, but they were drinking it as well as burying it. But then when they went back next day, they couldn't remember where they buried it. And during the big storms, some of the bottles of whiskey from that time still appear in different locations on the island.
So here we are on Inis Oirr, and the island, it's the smallest of the 3 Aran Islands. It's only 1,500 acres, maybe a little bit less, and the population is about 350, 360 people at the moment. But you can see how many tourists are visiting on the summer. It's so important to provide opportunity for business, for commerce, and brings life back to the area, which is badly needed, not just on these islands, but on all the islands in Ireland. So let's go find some of those locals now to learn more about the Plassey. Now we're back in the village in Inis Oirr, and we're at Unona's Cafe. Unona's connection to the shipwreck is very unique because her father was one of the rescuers on the day. In fact, he took something from the ship that nobody else thought to take. The first of its kind, a piece of tech that hadn't been seen on this island or either of the other 2. It was a toilet. The first toilet flushed on any of the 3 Aran Islands came from the Plassey, and it was the father of the woman who runs this cafe who took it. I was curious about, some detail on your father's involvement with the rescue as well.
Oh yeah, well I suppose the local rocket crew did a great job in rescuing. 11 lives saved, no injuries in those awful conditions with the basic a life-saving apparatus called the Britches Buoy, and one of Dad, I think, was number 3 or 4 of the crew, the rocket crew, and they trained regularly, and they learned Morse code and semaphore. And one of Dad's jobs, I suppose, was to communicate by semaphore with the ship. What is your situation, etc., etc. And as kids, we used to, you know, we all knew the alphabet in Morse code because they'd be practicing when there'd be an inspection coming up. And you may notice the big kind of mast that's over in the campsite.
Yeah.
That was the mast they used to fire the rocket. And,
Really?
You know, to aim to the rocket and do their different manoeuvres. And there's some photographs inside of that, actually.
I'm standing here holding a copy of National Geographic from April 1971, and this edition is very important to the island. The National Geographic came here many times over the decades and featured the islands, the Aran Islands, on 3 occasions. But the 1971 is particularly important because the house behind me is where they stayed. That house was built in the 1930s by a local family who have been a huge presence on the island for all of this time. And it is Una's family, Una, who runs the cafe and does wonderful knitting workshops and courses for people. She has been, and her family have been bringing people and accommodating people on this island for all these years. But what I'm really interested in is this photo here, because it was taken by National Geographic while they were staying up in this house. It is the house where the toilet has been installed, and it was this man here who was part of the rescue on the Plassey who got the toilet and installed it up above. And I go a step further because this was his sister who built the house, the first real kind of bed and breakfast, I suppose, on the island, or certainly one of the first bed and breakfasts. And here, sitting on her mother's lap, is Una herself, the woman who has made some of the delicious scones here, who continues to represent her father and her family, telling the story to new generations and to visitors like yourselves who come out here to experience the island for yourselves. Time to get down to the Plassey, and the best way to get there is to grab one of the bikes from one of the many great bike shops here on the island. We are here at Joyce's, who have provided us fantastic e-bikes, and guys, definitely if the day is bright, if it's sunny, you want to see this island in all of its beauty by exploring it at your own pace. So join us now as we show you the island. And here she is, the Plassey. So when she was out there on Finnish Rock, sat up in the sea, there was 11 people on board. The captain ordered them all to get into the emergency boat, but the swells were so great, it was throwing them up and there was huge danger. So he ordered them back into the main ship. And this is a funny little detail about life and how inconsequential events can have massive ramifications, because while that storm was raging here in the early hours of the morning, there was a cow calving, and one of the farmer woke up to go check on it, and as he came out of his home in the middle of a raging storm, he saw them out in the water. He saw the ship in distress and he raised the alarm, and so they came down with their equipment and they were able to, one by one, rescue the 11 people who were trapped on the ship. It wasn't an easy task. The storm was still raging and they had to pull them on a kind of makeshift zip line to rescue each and every one of them. It took about 10 hours. A little while later, another storm lifted the ship and dumped it on the island, and storms since have actually moved it across the island, which is when it split in the middle in 2013 in a particularly vicious storm. And the reason we're filming it now in 2025 is because I have seen in the last number of years how much it has worn out, and there will be nothing to film. I would say maybe even next year we won't have a ship to film. So we're trying to keep the story alive by showing you it in some of its glory before it's 5 pieces or 100 pieces split across the rocks. So let's go and have a look inside. So I get asked a lot why the ship was left here, and I suppose because it wasn't here. In the beginning it was out on Finnish Rock. The company who owned it had people patrolling to make sure that nobody robbed the supplies until they'd conducted their investigations. So the people patrolling, they were only there during the day, they didn't stay all night. So in the night time the islanders could come down here in the curraghs and they could row out to the shipwreck and explore it, where they found things like Scotch whisky, blue paint, acid and other bits and bobs. The company came back and said there's not much value in us removing it, so it was left. And of course the storm dropped it here on the island. The poor islanders didn't have the money or the infrastructure to remove it, and so it became part of the island. Later on, bringing more and more people to visit here. And what's helped, I suppose, local tourism especially, was the show Father Ted. When that was filmed, the opening credits were a shot of the island, and placed kind of very distinctly in the shots are the Plassey, which became associated with Craggy Island. So for those watching outside of Ireland, that's homework for you. If you haven't watched Father Ted yet, get involved, watch it, and then come over here and throw all the lines back at us. I'm sure all the islanders will appreciate it. I love learning the stories, the hidden little stories of places like this and events like this. And I mentioned, and Bill had earlier mentioned, the whiskey. So it was Scotch that was on the ship, and the islanders knew all about whiskey because they had traded with Connemara, but they didn't necessarily know as much about Scotch. They didn't trust it. What if it wasn't? What if it was contaminated, or you wouldn't know. So the story I was told was that there was one islander here who was a little bit mean, a little bit tight. Maybe he had some Cavan blood in the family, and he got an awful lot of the Scotch off the ship. And one night he knocked on his neighbour's door and invited him in. And the neighbour thought, okay, grand, went in next door, and he sat the neighbour down and poured him a big glass of Scotch. And the neighbour thought, Jesus, he's sharing. This is a man who wouldn't share the time of day with you. So he thought, geez, he must be dying. He must be very sick now to be becoming a bit more generous. So he ended up having a lovely drink, and it was refilled for him, and over again. And he was drinking away and had a lovely night. And the neighbour said goodnight at the end of it and went back in. And the mean SOB, he apparently never shared another drop, because he was testing to see if it wasn't poisoned. And once his poor neighbour didn't keel over on the floor, well sure, the SOB kept the rest for himself. So I can't, for obvious reasons, give you the name of the man I'm referring to, because I want to make it off the island in one piece, and I wouldn't be brave enough to say it out loud. So there you have it, the Plassey and Inis Oirr, some of it. So we don't know how long more we have it for, so we wanted to record this story to keep it so we can go back to it. And anyone else who's had an experience of visiting, we want to hear from you. Tell us your own story. Tell us in the comments your interaction with the shipwreck. If you've heard a tale yourself that we didn't mention, anything like that, and come out, experience the island, not just the shipwreck, but the beach, the lighthouse, the stone walls, the churches. The history and the folklore is so rich here, And each and every islander, I promise you, is a storyteller or a shanachie in their own right. So don't do them a disservice. Come out and see them. You won't regret it. This has been Balor Otherworld. We can't wait to see you in the next video. Let us know what you want us to do next. Agus Anish, Slán go fóil.
Is fada hitto a glai, ach ní an Inis ach suich an fála. Tá jedi le a roi sa glai, ní eice me a gné festa. Ach, má ta dwi mi hain ach loch, mair de chro is de scáil beo, cha má sta me a fós as cúl na sôl in seo I main sin.
Ítach, go raibh míle.